Hello, church. We are looking at Hebrews chapter 2 in our daily Bible reading. One of the things we're going to notice throughout reading of this book is the use of quoting the Old Testament, which, if you consider the audience of whoever this author of this letter is, makes sense, right? He's addressing Jewish believers, or at least Jewish people exposed to Christianity, and sharing the truth of this message of that Christ is the long-awaited Messiah. He is God's fulfillment of redeeming a sinful and broken humanity into a right relationship with a holy God. So he starts off the letter once again saying, right, God spoke in many ways through prophets throughout the history of Israel, but now finally the final revelation is coming from his Son. And so in the start of chapter 2, he kind of addresses this issue of, since it is God's Son who's speaking, or God himself speaking, we cannot neglect this salvation. If we read Acts 4:12, it says there's salvation found in no one else except for Jesus, so that there's no other name under heaven given to mankind by which we must be saved. So Christ is central because this is God's one solution to our sinful problem. And then he kind of continues to go on to quote some Old Testament things, but then ultimately, like, as the chapter ends, I want to look at this amazing kind of promise and related ability we have with Christ, since he's being fully God and fully man. So we're going to pick up in verse 17 of Hebrews chapter 2. Therefore, he being Jesus, had to be made like his brethren, which is us, in all things, so that he might become a merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to God, to make propitiation for the sins of the people. For since he himself was tempted in that which he has suffered, he is able to aid of those who are tempted. And so this great promise that, once again, not only does God understand our sinful temptations and the things we are enduring here on this earth, but Christ himself lived it out, and so he can be an aid for us as our high priest, the one who is ultimately interceding between us and God. In chapter 3, and tomorrow we'll look into this a little bit more, but once again, this great, amazing promise that whatever you're going through, Christ can personally relate to it, because he, being fully God and fully man, was tempted in all ways and yet without sin. So bring any temptation, any sin you're struggling with to Christ. He can relate, and he can comfort you, and he can provide the true escape from all sins. And so it's the encouragement for the daily Bible reading today. Come back tomorrow, and we'll look at Hebrews chapter 3.